It's a safety net program that helps low-income women, many of them women of color, and it is a critical lifeline for nearly 4 million women nationwide. 1 million of them just in one state alone, in the state of California.
And so 20 other states are following suit with California in an effort to protect Planned Parenthood's monopoly on murder. In other words, late-term abortion continues. But what happens after the abortion with that human being, that is the most alarming part. Joining me now from Reston, Virginia, from the Media Research Center, Director of MRC-TV, Eric Scheiner. Eric, it is unbelievable to me that our taxpayer dollars are going to fund some kind of ghoulish, fiendish, Mengele-type experiments being done on the remains of these children from late-term abortions.
And the Department of Health and Human Services has just renewed a contract with the University of California, San Francisco, to continue work on humanized mice. What's a humanized mouse? It's a mouse that has parts of a liver and a thyroid grafted onto it. And guess where these come from? Late-term abortions. These come from babies that are 20 to 24 weeks old. They get their liver and thyroid glands grafted onto a mouse so it can be tested for HIV. Drugs is what's under consideration, despite the fact that the government has said, you know what, there's some moral questions, there's some regulatory questions, there's some ethical questions that need to be answered about this. We're going to start a review of how we use fetal tissue. They started that in September. Well, it doesn't matter. They still renewed this recent study on humanized mice. It's already cost about $10.5 million. It could go more. It could be renewed again all the way through 2020. We'll see where it stands, but that's what they're doing with these body parts. They're using body parts from aborted babies.
I don't know what they need to review exactly. It is, in a word, it is barbaric. I'll tell you what does need review. If you go to the town of Brighton, New York, I'd like to hear their explanation on this one, because suddenly there are restrictions on those folks who live there, Second Amendment rights.
Some serious restrictions. Basically, they're saying they have a new law that when the gun isn't in your hand, it has to be locked in a safe, or it has to be locked up in a way that it cannot fire, a trigger lock or something of that nature. Now, you'd like to hear what they say. Well, I'll tell you what a supervisor says. He says, hey, in no way does it restrict gun ownership. What it does is promote responsible gun ownership, according to their supervisor. But of course, when you tell somebody what they have to do with something, if they own it, that's, restricting ownership. So I guess they could tell you you have to bury it 60 feet under the ground.
Right.
You know, they don't find that restrictive. They don't seem to understand the shall not be infringed part of the Second Amendment in Brighton. Surely, I would think at some point this would be challenged. You know, and the police chief even says, well, you know, you can still use your firearm. This has to do with immediate control of your firearm. If the gun's not in your hands and you put it in a drawer and it's not locked up and they find out, I guess they get to take away your private property rights. They get to take this gun away because you're not possessing it in the way that they would like you to be possessing it, and that is called a restriction.
A gun with a gun lock on it is a paperweight. It's that simple. Now, so they're attacking the Second Amendment rights in New York. Meantime, the President of the United States is trying to protect the First Amendment rights of kids who go to college.
Yeah, and he says he's thinking about signing an executive order if you are a university, an institution of higher learning that receives federal funds for research and things of that nature. Guess what? You're not going to be able to restrict people's First Amendment. And this is something that we've seen when conservative speakers have tried to go to some of these college campuses. They say, no, you can't speak, you can't go, you can't participate. A lot of people are very supportive of this rule. It seems like it's a good idea. If you want to receive federal funds, you have to let people have free speech and maybe, I don't know, allow some conservatives on your campus that challenge some of the ideas that some of these liberal professors are preaching to their students.
You know, I think it's a great idea in concept. Number one, I think it's going to be ignored by these universities because they hate President Trump, for example. And number two, it really shouldn't be necessary. First Amendment right is a fundamental right that every American should enjoy. You should be able to go on campus and have free speech, and you should be able to leave campus without a bloody nose. Eric, thanks.